Good day, Toastmaster and guest. I am Rinal. Today, I am the Sir and Zoom Master of the meeting. Mission of our club, we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communications and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Our leadership statement, Leadership Speak, is a premier club for experienced Toastmasters to become better self-directed leaders. We are an advanced club focused primarily on leadership development in everything we do. Our timer has their virtual hand raised, so we all can immediately see who is keeping the time. I shall also be spotlighted the timer. Our TMOD who will lead our meeting today. So, Toastmaster of the day today, Toastmaster Mohammad Azimuddin. By profession, mechanical engineer, working as a reliable engineer in Canada. Since last 12 years in Toastmaster, aims to learn communication and leadership skill and excel in professional and also personal life. A loving father, 3 kids, and also having only one loyal husband, wife. Served Toastmaster fraternity in all roles and club executive committee. Served as the area governor in District 79. Completed DTM in 2018. Now working for the second DTM tenure. Leadership is not a position, it is a process of hard work to communicate the visions and lead the team to achieve goals. That's the belief of Mohammad Azimuddin. So with that, now I hand over the podium to our Toastmaster of the day. It's back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Sergeant at Arms. Mohammad Azimuddin has difficulty in entering the room, so I will take over while we have him come back into the room. This is Bra Memon, the president of the club. If you can please spotlight me, that'd be great. And while I'm taking over from Mohammad Azimuddin, could somebody please contact him and send him the link to the meeting, because I think he's having difficulty in coming into the meeting. Oh, there he is now.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, on cue, ladies and gentlemen. So while he's settling down, Leadership Speak is an advanced Toastmasters club, as you all know, and we are going places. Some of our members are totally focused on working on their extraordinariness to become extraordinary speakers and leaders, to lead and speak with conviction by the end of the year. By the end of the year, I mean 31st of December 2023. And so while Mohammad Azimuddin is settling down, are you ready, Mohammad Azimuddin?
Yes.
All right.
I am ready now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mohammad Azimuddin. It's all yours. Thank you, sir.
Meeting is started already.
The meeting is on. You are the Toastmaster today. I was just holding the fort for you to come in the room. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for introducing me today as the Toastmaster of the day. In 1963, in Washington, a gentleman delivered an exalted, effective, and historical speech. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at a table of brotherhood. That was the hallmark of effective communication to a desperate nation. That was the speech that made a charismatic leader, Martin Luther King. 3,000 members of the press covered the speech. 260,000 people from across the nation attended the speech. The speech was broadcasted live across the country. Since that time, I have a dream means Martin Luther King. The art of communication is a legacy of a leader, and the leaders live through centuries through the legacy they leave behind. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters and guests, welcome to the show. Today is 21st January 2023, and I am your Toastmaster of the day, bringing for you a leadership speech, 4 prepared speeches from Pathways, and followed by a general evaluation. Let me start the show with a toast. I would like to invite Nurul Munawwara to please present the toast.
Very good day to each and everyone in this platform. 3 years back, the entire world was in dark. No one knew where we were heading with COVID-19 in presence. But the leaders of the Toastmasters adapted for new normal. The birth of Leadership Speak again was true because we adapted to the new normal, and we, members from 13 countries, got together and we are having the meeting today. Why we were able to do it? Because leaders are effective communicators. Whether we are in one country or the other country, or we are closer or we are far away. Today, the members of self-directed Leaders Club, Leadership Speak, mastered the platform, the virtual platform to the max, and we really improve ourselves day by day in developing our communication skills and becoming the world leaders who can groom more young leaders through these Toastmasters. Membership of Leadership Speak. I would like to raise a toast to the members among my friends of Leadership Speak for the betterment of the future leaders of all the countries and members of the self-directed club leaders, that we are here to groom more positive leaders in all over the countries, and to bring positive vibes and to make more effective leaders. I would like, please raise the toast. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Nurul Munawwara. You set the mood today for all the audience. Leaders, we have today 2 quality controllers who will monitor the speeches and control the quality of the speeches. And the first QC is the timer. I invite Sandra Vox to read out the objectives of the timer. You are muted.
I'm unmute myself. I'm trying to be so bright so I can get this thing over and figure out how I'm doing. First timer, newbie. Anyhow, today the role as timer is to keep the meeting time so that we're aware of when we're able to respect other people's time. In this way, we'll be finished in 2 hours. I will be putting in, as you saw with Nurul, I managed to put up the red when her 2 minutes were up. The speakers today are Aswathy, you're going to be 15, 19, and 20. So at 15 minutes, you will get the green. At 19 minutes, the yellow, and at 20 minutes, the red. So you'll have 30 seconds to cease and desist. The speaker today, Dinesh, is 5 to 7. So it'll be 5, 6, and 7. Second speaker, Francoise, 18. I really need my magnifying glass. 18, 20, and 22. Third speaker, Ashwini, 5, 6, and 7 is the same for Rozy. So it will be 5, 6, 7. I believe, oh yes, I will do all the timing once we get into the general evaluation as well. Hannah, all of the evaluations will be 2, 2:30, and 3. So 2, 2:30, and 3. The timing report will be given. And 1:30 and 2
The
for
Toastmasters.
Mary Lou, grammarian. So the reports will be given in grammarian, 1 minute, 1:30, and 2. And the general evaluators report will be 5, 6, and 7. I believe that's my job. Over to you, Mohammed.
Sandra. The second QC is the grammarian, and I invite Mary Lou Asson to read out the objectives of the grammarian.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My role today is to keep track of the use of language within the meeting. I will look for wonderful phrases. I will look for improvements in language for either way it's expressed or the use of the words. The word of the day is elucidate, and this means to provide clarification or to explain. You require to make an understanding clear. If something is obscure, or difficult to understand, you elucidate it to make it better understood. I would encourage everyone to use the word of the day as often as possible, and I will be keeping track of how often it is used. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mary Lou. A leader must become an effective communicator. They know how communication works to create a purpose for the people, to make them put their confidence in them and accept them as their leaders. Their leadership comes to the people when they speak and mingle with people. Today, our first leadership speaker, Aswarthy Rajan, is going to speak from Presentation Mastery Level 3 on the topic, Art of Effective Communication for Leaders. She is the right choice for the subject. For many reasons, she is a leader of District 120, a former scientist, an author, and above all, an effective communicator. Her speech, evaluated by Hannah Smith. I invite Hannah to please read out the objective of the speech.
Certainly, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day, gives me great pleasure. The purpose of this project is for the member to practice the skills needed to connect with well, it says here unfamiliar audience, but we are all familiar. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcoming Aswathy Rajan.
Hello, everyone. Am I visible and audible?
Yes,
Can I
you are.
get screen sharing access? I think it's disabled.
Go ahead.
Fellow Toastmasters and dear guests, the art of effective communication for leaders. When we think about leadership, we usually picture a political leader who stands at the podium and rallying crowds to support their cause, or an athlete who spur their team to push their limits and try harder, or maybe an executive who develops strategies to help their colleagues edge out the competition, or a Toastmasters Club's Vice President Education, who motivates the club members to sign up for roles. Leaders wear many hats and bear many responsibilities. They help others to do right things, drive innovation and change, and build a new vision for a greater future for all. At the end of the day, leaders need to be dynamic, exciting, enterprising, inspiring, and someone who can effectively communicate everything to the team. So effective communication helps you sell better, inspire people, and boost your career too. I still remember my university days. Back then, I was regularly put on to sleep by a particularly boring professor. How many of you have experienced the same? Have you? Yes, can I see some hand raises? Yes, I know, none of us is an exception. But here's the thing, the man, our professor, he was a genius. His bookshelf was draped in awards and medals. His trouble was that he just couldn't communicate. And that reduced the effectiveness of his ideas in the classroom setting. He just could not elucidate the topics which he was about to teach. So now, let me apply the same scenario to leadership. What will happen? What will you get? An unaware, uninspired, and uncertain team, isn't it? Like it or not, leadership skills are associated with communicating well and getting across confidently. And according to this article, which you can see here, it is an article by Harvard Business Review. One of the absolute most important leadership skills from around the world is the ability to communicate clearly with others. Effective communication can even increase the productivity of the team up to 25%. Isn't it amazing? And we have a good news here. Do you know what? Effective communication isn't a genetic disposition. Yes, it's not something we are born with it. It is definitely isn't something handed down through generations. It's a skill. And like any other skill, it can be learned too. So if you have learned riding a bicycle, or if you have learned typing, or if you have learned cooking, then my dear friends, you can learn effective communication too. It's a beautiful art, an art that can enhance your leadership skills. So today, I'm here to talk about 3 important elements that can help you become a better leader, an effective communicator. So let me start with the first element, authenticity. Authenticity in communication. When you communicate authentically, you bring your whole self, your thoughts, your feelings, and experiences. You show others that you respect yourself as well as them. When you are honest and direct, people pay attention and hear you, which makes you feel more confident as a leader. So many leaders, when just starting out, try to be perfect instead of authentic. And what happens when you focus on being perfect? You come across as a stiff and robotic. And usually when you try so hard not to screw up, you eventually screw up. So new leaders try too hard to be leaders that they forget the most important thing is to be authentic people whose goal is to help people who are around them, their team members, and be their best selves. So, dear friends, be authentic, be honest and sincere. Find your own voice. Avoid corporate speak or sounding like someone you are not. Let who you are, where you come from, and what you value. Let it come through your communication. People want respect and will follow authentic leadership, definitely. Forget about eloquence. Worry about being real. Don't disguise who you are. People will never willingly follow someone they feel is inauthentic. So accept if you don't know anything. Being a leader, it is not necessary that you know everything. Let me share a personal example with all of you. I have a mentor in Toastmasters from the day one when I joined Toastmasters. And she is the one who helps me every time when I am stuck, with her suggestions, with her wisdom, with her experience. When I took over as the president of my club, she was the one who gave me suggestions to run a club in a better way, always guided me. And slowly, I climbed up on the ladder of leadership and took up area director role. And there also, as my mentor, she was there to guide me, to help me throughout my leadership journey. And now it's the time when I am thinking to climb up the leadership ladder furthermore. And now when I ask the same to be there to guide me, she says, Ashwathy, I can help you in your president role. I could help you in your area director role because I had experience. I know the nuances of these two roles. But now when you are thinking of climbing higher on the leadership ladder, I cannot help you because I don't have experience of that. I don't know much about it. I can help you just as a member, but not as a leader. She accepted that and she told me to get help or mentorship from someone who has experience, more experience, who can help me better. So I felt that is being authentic. And she communicated so well that I could understand the importance of being an authentic communicator. Inauthentic communication is the quickest way to lose the respect and your trust of your people. Dishonesty, mixed messages, inconsistency, and unreliability are serious communication weaknesses. They are noticed quickly and are impossible to hide. So leadership requires direct, honest, and authentic communication. Authentic communication cannot be muddled, confusing, or it cannot be timid at all. So when you communicate with purpose, logic, intention, and emphasis, people detect your authenticity. So they trust you as their leader and to cogently convey ideas and account for your audience, which maximize connection between you and your team members. So speaking as directly as possible delivers a trustworthy message to your team. So dear friends, the first important element is to be authentic communicator. So when you hold back information for personal or any political reasons, employees usually discover the deception and develop distrust. So admitting mistakes reveals a vulnerability that draws people admiration and appreciation. I would like to quote Anna Crowe, who writes in her book, Get Real, The Power of Genuine Leadership, a Transparent Culture and an Authentic You. She says a leader's mask severs the connections needed for collaboration and unity. So please do not let go that opportunity to develop a collaboration, to unite your team with inauthentic communication. Now coming to the second very important element to become effective communicator is relate to connect with your team members. You might be speaking to inform, persuade, or inspire. You will not be able to bring your message across effectively if you do not establish a connection with your listeners. So leadership is about getting people to respond effectively, and communication is the key to that. And effective communication is key to that. So hence, that is why the ancient Greeks in their mythology, they have said that rhetoric is the art of winning the soul by discourse. And one of the first thing we need to learn about being an effective communicator is to share our humanity. Listeners don't latch onto ideas so much as they latch onto people. So in order to be an effective communicator and of course a leader, you have got to focus on connecting with your members you are trying to lead and inspire. So how can employees be aligned with an organization goals or maybe with your vision if they don't know what they are or don't even understand them? So the answer is that they simply can't. They cannot work. Clear communication aligns employees with strategic goals. So the first step should be to relate your team members to the goals of the organization or maybe with your vision and connect them with the goals. So if they could relate to your vision, then your team members will feel connected and develop a synergy, a kind of synergy, and your goal becomes your team's common goal. A very important element here is empathy. It's an incredibly powerful and the most beautiful emotions that can make you an extraordinary leader. An empathetic communication makes it even better. 4 magic words. This is something which I always believe in. 4 magic words. I understand. It's okay. I appreciate you. And thank you. These are 4 magical words. When you incorporate these words in your communication with your team members unknowingly develop an invisible bond with you. I would like to quote Maya Angelou here. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So make them feel connected with your goals, with your organization goals. Secondly, which you can do is talk about some real examples or scenarios. Do not give hypothetical goals. Always align your plan of actions with the skills and abilities of your team members. While communicating, highlight them clearly. It will develop a sense of relatability and of course, ownership. For example, if we are having a milestone meeting in our club, we delegate work to each and every member, and we find that one member is having an expertise on Zoom, then of course you will call that person, call that member, and you will tell that we know that you have expertise in this and no one can do better than you, and you can take charge of this activity, and you can recognize that member, you can acknowledge their ability to do that work in an extraordinary manner. And that will help that member to connect better with the task. And of course, the performance will be increased. So that's a small example which we all can follow in every small task which we do in our club or maybe in our professional life. Share your personal stories, your personal experiences, because when you share your personal story, you give life to your vision, your goal, or maybe your objectives. So it creates trust and captures hearts and minds and serves as a reminder of the vision. Plus, people develop a connection. So feel free to show your emotions with your team members because you are one of them. And most importantly, listen. A leader should be an active listener, we all know. And of course, it is a key element for developing an effective communication. They should know when to stop talking and when to listen to their team members. By doing this, they gain the employees' trust, and who then share their opinions, their ideas, their grievances or perspectives with of course, the leader. So active listening is something which also helps the leaders to understand their team members better. And when you have a better understanding, your team connects better, and your task or your goals can be successfully achieved. So basically, when you decide to stop being authoritative and start focusing on being human and connecting with other human beings, you will be amazed at how many people will relate and want to connect with you as a leader. The third important element which I would like to mention here and talk about is talk to inspire. The art of persuasion. It's an important competency of a leader. Challenging an opinion is the first step, but bringing about real change and lasting change is the next step. And that means teaching others a new way to think, do, and be, which can be challenging. So effective communication is as much about challenging people's perception of something as it is about introducing new ideas. So it is also about challenging yourself. Anyone who's gotten up in front of a group of strangers and talked for half an hour knows how intimidating it can be. It takes nerves of steel. I still remember my first time when I was the presidential candidate for University Student Council, and I was the first women candidate for the post of president in the history of my university. With sweaty palms and trembling voice and shivering legs, I walked onto the stage to address more than 1,000 students. I was supposed to communicate my vision for the university, for the students. And I knew that that's the moment where I can inspire others and create an impact. Unfortunately, I lost the elections. But the next day, after my speech, my vision was there on almost all the newspapers of my city, praising about the wave of change I could bring among the students. And that was possible only because of the way I communicated with the audience that day. My only goal that day was to inspire the young girls with that speech. And I was able to inspire them to come up and actively participate in students' politics, which was otherwise not a field of interest for girls back then. And as leader on stage, my only thought was to bring that change, some positive change for the students. And I'm glad that I could do that. So it is very important that you have a purpose when you communicate with your members, with your team members. The purpose of your communication should be to inspire the audience or your team members. So communication is one of the most important skills a leader can have. It takes purpose and intention to implement effective communication. You know that how and when to communicate and select the appropriate mode of your audience. Whether writing or conversing or maybe presenting or facilitating, leaders must excel at communication in all these modes. It's the only way to meet people's individual needs and enable important human connections. So, my dear friends, effective leadership is measured by the time a team takes to complete a task without any kind of friction. And good communication skills play an important role in that. It brings together the team members to achieve desired goals by clearly defining your goals and responsibilities with your team members. Meanwhile, a lack of communication makes it tough to achieve goals and decreases productivity, of course. So by clearly communicating goals, roles, responsibilities, important information, and other things within your team members, a leader develops a strong bond with the team, devoid of miscommunication and, of course, quarrels. So towards the end, I would like to just repeat that how you all can ace the art of communication, effective communication as a leader. Be authentic in your communication, relate to connect with your team members, and talk to inspire. And that's the simple art of effective communication. Thank you. And over to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you very much. Inspiring, motivating, and very educative speech. Thank you. Leaders believe that communication is the road to success. They build a collective enthusiasm among the people, create a purpose by sharing stories, setting goals, conveying their visions, mentoring people, resolving conflicts, and shaping a direction to move forward and achieve a purpose. Today, we have 4 leaders who believe in their tremendous potential and ready to unleash their communication skills by sharing their success stories with us. And the first speaker is Dinesh Sharma, going to speak from engaging humor, level 2, project to connect with audience. Dinesh Sharma is a senior HR leader with more than 30 years of global HR experience in North America and India. Dinesh is highly involved in Toastmasters as area director in his speech in preparation for leadership speak anniversary speech on February 18. His evaluator is Tony Brachich. I invite Tony Brachich to please read out the objectives of the speech.
Okay. Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, fellow Toastmasters, and most especially Dinesh. Dinesh is actually doing something wonderful. He has prepared this presentation, which is engaging humor, level pathways project level 2, project 2, in practice for the anniversary speeches. And he would appreciate feedback on all aspects, which will include relevance, messaging, delivery, and impact. What is the impact on our lives? So please be ready to provide feedback to Dinesh for this considerable effort. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Tony. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcoming Dinesh Sharma.
Good morning, Mr. Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guest. Am I audible? Everybody hear me? Perfect.
Yes.
Let me ask you questions. Have you ever had a year which you would call a year of transformation? Let me share with you my last 1 year of a journey as a member of Leadership Speak Club. My presentation will have 3 elements. First would be my early days in Leadership Speak Club. Then what have I learned in the last 1 year as a member of the Leadership Club? And the third and the very important is what's my plan for the year 2023? So let me start with my early days of a member of a Leadership Speak Club. February 2022, I heard that the launch meeting of a new Leadership Speak Club is happening, where there will be international presidents, district directors, and a whole lot of DTMs will be there. I immediately signed up for that meeting. On the launch meeting, there were 180 Toastmasters in attendance, and we were advised that we only need 20 members to charter the club. Not to miss this exciting opportunity of being a part of a club where there will be leaders from across the globe, I immediately filled up the membership form, sent it, and the application on the same day. The club was chartered in 1 week time, which impressed me a lot, because chartering a club in 1 week time is an achievement for any club. Graham then reached out to me and shared one of his success formula, which is connect and engage. And he said he does this simply through simple WhatsApp messages with the people that he connects with. No fancy stuff, only simple messages. I was appointed as the membership director of this newly chartered club. Here's the fun start. A couple of weeks after I was appointed as the membership director, I went on a family vacation to Vancouver. There, while I'm doing the sightseeing, okay, I took a selfie of a picture like a Shah Rukh Khan style, and I'm sure some of you know Bollywood Shah Rukh Khan style. I took a picture like this, and I posted on the social media. Braham then sent a message to me and saying, is this why you went all the way to Vancouver to take this kind of a picture? I'm amazed by his authenticity of connecting with the people that he connects with. I'm a new member, I'm a membership director. But here's another fun. A couple of weeks later, I'm having a romantic dinner with my wife. And he sends me a message inquiring about something. And I looked at the message. I said, hey, there's a message from the boss. And following his philosophy of connect and engage, I engage in a conversation with him, forgetting that I'm on a romantic dinner with my wife. Okay. My wife thinking, what's weird with this guy? He brought me to a dinner and he's engaged in a conversation with somebody. Okay, what's wrong with him? I had a bit of an explanation to do that evening to my wife. Jokes apart. What has inspired me the most being a member of this club is this club is a club of global leaders. When I look at the membership of this club, and more importantly, when I see the people attending this club meeting, we have people from Africa where it's 3 o'clock in the morning. We have people in India where there's 8 o'clock in the evening at the moment. We have people here in Canada. It's about 9:20 here in Canada. This is a club of global leaders. the leadership event that was organized last summer, where we had 1,800 Toastmasters attending that event in one day, knowing very well that event was organized in less than 3 months' time. Now, organizing an event with 1,800 Toastmasters in a 3 months' time requires a lot of preparation, technology, planning, and much more. But what has inspired me the most is Braham has encouraged the members to be self-directed. He's come up with innovative ideas. He's brought in a panel of experts. He's brought leadership experts like Lance. But more recently, he has started this new innovative thing of leadership circles, having 3 leadership circles where members can learn from each other, motivate each other, and all that stuff too. Now, moving on to what have I gained in the last 1 year of being a member of this club. I've had the honor of having a dinner with Tony. I've learned from Percy of whenever he stands up to speak, he inspires people. I've learned from Mariana how to be persistent in delivering one speak after the another speech. I've seen the energy in Nikita and Manju when they deliver the speech. I've learned from Dr. Aswathy Rajan on how to bounce back in life after you go through the challenges. I've learned from Rozy, Rana on how to be strategic in your communication, in your thinking. And more importantly, I made friends with Vinod, Muhammad Asif, and more recently with Sudarshan. More importantly, the learning of this club has helped me to manage a group of volunteers, those who are dedicated, committed, and passionate about community development. So what's my plan for 2023? My plan for 2023 is to be more engaged in this club, to complete the pathway that I'm currently engaged in, and last but not the least, take the learning from this club and implement it outside this club to make this world a little better in what shape or a form that I can do it. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
You're on mute.
Thank you very much, Dinesh Sharma, for your inspiring story, sharing with us. We are really very happy that you are learning with us, becoming a self-directed leader. 1 minute silence for the evaluation. Timer, please notify after 1 minute. Thank you, timer. The speaker is Francoise G. Bowen. He is going to speak from Strategic Relationship, Level 5, Project 6. Prepare to speak professionally. The speaker will share his story with the title Q in Leadership. His speech will be evaluated by Ray Rivero. I invite Ray to please read out the objectives of the speech.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster today. I have the pleasure of introducing Francoise Bowen, presenting from Strategic Relationships, the Level 5 elective, Prepared to Speak Professionally. Her speech title is The Q in Leadership. Her dream goal is to speak on the world stage, both virtually and in person. After she publishes her first book and any books after that, sharing her values and her faith on her real-life victories to help others to come out of the hole they are in and be themselves in the creator of this beautiful world we all live in. The purpose of this project is for the member to practice developing and presenting a longer speech beyond our 5 to 7 minute time frame. So let's sit back and enjoy Francois' speech.
Thank you, Ray. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcoming
Francois, unmute.
All right. Okay, thank you. Can you hear me and can you see me?
You're
Yes.
clear.
Good. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters and special guests, welcome to Leadership Speak. No, welcome to my show. My name is Francoise Bowen, and I am so delighted to share with you for the first time, speaking a lengthy speech about something that is dear to me. And not only it is dear to me, but also something that is dear to every leader in this meeting right now. Now, you might be wondering, what on earth is the Q in leadership? The Q in leadership? That don't make no sense. How is leadership spelled? Leadership. Where does the Q fall into this? Yeah, you're wondering, right? So take a sit, relax, and I'm going to show you where the Q is in leadership. I want to start off with something that concerning the definition of leadership. And we hear from Google, the definition of leadership is the action of leading a group of people or an organization. That's how the Oxford Dictionary defines leadership. In simple words, leadership is about taking risks and challenging the status quo. Leaders motivate others to achieve something new and better. And I'm going to talk about another definition of leadership. This is now from the Merriam-Webster. Leadership, as it says here, is a noun. The office or position of a leader, capacity to lead, the act or an instance of leading. Okay, so we have already looked on 2 definitions of leadership thus far. Let's go on. Then there is a third definition of leadership, and this is from John C. Maxwell. He is an American author, speaker, pastor, who has written 21 books, primarily focusing on leadership. And for those of you who love anything leadership, I'm so sure you have heard about John C. Maxwell. You have heard about Jim Rohn, Success Magazine, and the list go on. And he is one of the number one sought after leadership guru. And his definition of leadership states, It is the ability to obtain followers. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. The greatest leadership is by example. You must do, act, say, and be the person you want your team to be. Leadership is a visual thing. You cannot take others on a journey with an unknown destination. And we have our leader, which is Brahma Mohan, who has stated a lot and sharing his vision for leadership speak and for our lives. So far, we're going well, right? All right. Next definition of what leadership means from another wonderful person. Yes, me, yours truly. and my definition of leadership is a person who is humble, that willingly pushes against the forces of doing the same thing that gave same results in times past. Their vision, character, and life is an eagle view. Oh yes, I believe that when you're in a leadership position, you are an eagle. And I'm going to give the final definition of leadership. So I hope everybody is writing down, taking notes, and like, oh, okay, all right. Now I'm getting on to understand more about leadership. Okay, so I have the last definition of leadership. And this definition comes from none other than the Bible, which I read. And it is stated in 1 Peter chapter 5, the definition of a leader. It is, be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, watching over them, not because you must, but because you are willing, as God wants you to be, not pursuing dishonest gain, but eager to serve, not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that will never fade away. So I think we have gathered the definition of leadership from different perspectives. And it clearly means that we all in this room right now must ensure that as leaders, that we must be humble, risk takers, and ensuring that we are visionaries to lead the team ahead. Now I have some interesting things for all of us to participate in. Leadership requires faith and belief in yourself and the people around you. So I'm going to ask persons in this room, how many of you, just raise your emoji hand or raise your hand, we all on camera, how many of you believe in yourself and the people that you have around you? How many of you? Raise your hand. All right. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. And it is really needed for us to do that. So here's a question to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just to get much more in depth with you. Here's a question to you, the audience. Why is it important to take risks? And when should that happen in your leadership stage? Why is it important to take risks? And when should that happen in your leadership stage? I'm going to stop share so that I can see the persons who are answering that question. All right, so I see Dr. Aswathy, your hand is raised. What is your response to that question?
No, I think I raised it before when you asked, sorry.
Since you're on.
But wonderful presentation, I just loved it.
All right, so then since you're on, would you like to just give a shot at it?
Yeah, I'll come up with something. You can carry on maybe with someone else. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Do we have anyone who wants to? All right, I see Sudarshan. Toastmaster Sudarshan, go right ahead.
Yeah, so in any journey, unless you choosing to break the egg, there is no omelet to be made. So if you aren't willing to take the risk, let alone being a leader, you aren't even qualified to walk on the path. So it is, I think, two sides of the same coin. Leadership and risk taking have to go together. Else there isn't a leader.
Exactly, exactly. That is so true. Because why then do you take yourself to be in a leadership position if you don't wish to take the, you are so correct. Okay, I see 2 participant hands raised. I see another hand raised. And let me see whose hand is that. I saw a hand that is raised. I see, okay, Bram, yeah, go right ahead.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. And the question is, why is it important to take risk, and when should that happen in your leadership stage?
Well, thank you very much for that question. That's an amazing question. If the Sergeant at Arms can mute people who are not talking. Now, leadership is all about risks, because what's happening is that, especially in these uncertain times, when there's uncertainty and we need to sort of work with uncertainty, there's always risk involved, because you're stepping into the unknown, and the unknown brings with it risk. Uncertainty and risk go together. And as we know, especially in Toastmasters world, where it's amplified and everywhere else too, that people are not willing to take the risk and do something different. They're not willing to, as Nurul said, we at Leadership Speak, we are learning the new platform. We've learned the new platform, Zoom. We've mastered it. We're bringing leadership to Zoom, and we are succeeding like no other club has been succeeding, because we know and understand to take the risk, to be different, and to stick our neck out actually at the same time, because that is what leaders do in times of uncertainty, ambiguity, volatility, and so on. So back to you.
Thank you so much, Bram, for that. And you hit it as well too. And I see Rozy, Dinesh, and Mohammed. So Rozy, you go first. You're muted.
Am I?
Okay, go right ahead.
I believe it's important for leaders to take risks, because often in life there isn't an immediate and a straight answer. And if leaders sit on the fence, and that means they'll never be here nor there, it's unlikely for them to succeed with their teams. So leaders must be decisive, and sometimes that risk may refer to taking decisions that are wrong, but then leaders are quick to adjust, to adapt, and then move forward and learn and lead again. So risk-taking is essential, and is part and parcel of being a leader. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Rosie. That is so true, because you can't be undecided. You must be firm. This is the way forward. You just nailed it again on the head. Dinesh, go right ahead.
Perfect. That's a beautiful question, Francois, that you asked. My thought on this is leaders pave the unpaved way. What does that mean is leaders set the direction. Like Braham said, or like others said, having the Zoom meetings when COVID happened was the part of the leadership, moving from in-person to Zoom meetings. But then there is a second part of it too. And the second part of it is consistency is what the leadership requires. So yes, the leaders take the risk of paving the unpaved way of moving from in-person meeting to the Zoom meeting, but then still remaining consistent and taking it to the next level. This leadership club is a perfect example of bringing in the leaders from across the world in a Zoom meeting. Had COVID not happened, I don't think leadership club Speak Club would have existed, because earlier people were sticking to their own local areas and all that stuff too. So I always say this to everybody, that yes, COVID presented many challenges to the humanity, but it opened up many opportunities also to bring the humanity, to bring the global leaders, in spite of their differences, under one platform. Back to you, Francoise.
Thank you so much, Dinesh. And you reminded me of a book from Jeff Olson, which is called The Slight Edge. And in that book, he said that you travel the road less trodden on, and that makes all the difference. And we saw throughout the COVID, a lot of companies as well had to adapt quickly of letting the employees to be able to work from home. And now that we are, as I say, post-COVID, there are some companies who still maintain that. And then there are some companies that say, no, you need to come back in the office and work. So you're right, treading the way, making a new path for others to go forward on. Mohammed, Asif, you, and then Baran, and then last will be Dr. Aswathy.
Well, risk simply means that, things go, don't go according to our vision, what we require. So it may be good things may not happen the way we want it to. But you see, the ships are not meant to be into the safe harbor. They are meant to be going out into the sea, right? So that's how the world is. World, there's a lot of uncertainties. And in the current times, things are moving so fast. They are so volatile. And that's where it requires for a leader to take decisions more quickly. Yeah. So it's required, the leaders need to be agile. So if a leader needs to be agile, it's just like not taking any kind of a risk. It's known as a calculated risk you take, right? So when you take a risk, a leader needs to accumulate enough data as much as possible, as quickly as possible. Right. And should have a kind of a knowledge across, many of those, across the geography. I could call it as not geography as well as, let's say, finance, let's say the geopolitics, across disciplines. And that is where a leader needs to read a lot. So hence, when you take calculated risks, things might go wrong or right. But if you don't take your action, then there's short, you're not going to get any kind of a result at all, correct? So when you take action, there will be a result. Either it will be pass or fail. But if you don't take any action, then there is no result. So that's where leaders need to take risk. And this happens throughout the whole of the journey. There is no particular stage, when you're a startup leader or an accomplished leader. Right. It is pervasive. It is pervasive throughout your leadership life.
Correct.
And leaders take responsibility of their decisions.
Exactly.
And more importantly is that when they take decisions, something goes wrong, you quickly recover from your mistakes or things which went wrong. And that's called as resilience. So leaders build resilience, and that's why they take risks for more success.
Exactly. And there's something that you said about reading. Now, I'm going to tell you about me. Ever since I know myself, I never liked reading romantic books up to this day. I don't get the gist. I don't know how people, I've seen my best friend, they love these romantic books. I was more drawn towards leadership, things that take you forward, because I've seen the difference. When you read quality books, you know how to take the calculated risk. But when you're a person that likes to just focus reading only on these lovers book, romance book, and comedy, just reading these consistently over and over, you live in fear and trying to figure out, how do I make this step? How do I go forward? So you made a good, valid point as well in your response. Okay, Baran, and then Dr. Aswathy.
Thank you so much. That was an incredible question, and I am going to keep my reply short and sweet. Great leaders possible, and part of our other people who follow us, and we have to share that vision with them. But how do you know what is impossible and what is possible? It means you have to first push against limits. The human spirit is amazing. You can never know what you're capable of entirely at any one point. The more you climb, the more there is to be climbed. So that is just it. For me, I believe why risk-taking is important to leadership and leadership to risk-taking is you will never know your limits until you push against them. That is it. Back to you.
All right. And then finally, Dr. Aswarthy.
Francis, can I take half a second, please?
Sure.
Okay. We have all heard the term, the higher the risk, the higher the reward. Has anybody never heard about it? Higher the risk is higher the reward. I've spent 35 years in financial advisor. I'm a retired financial coach. And when the COVID hit, I was the president of my club in Markham. And believe you me, in 15 minutes time, we made the transition. When I sat down with my VP education, I had no knowledge about IT. He had all the knowledge and he went full blast. And we had, before March, we had 21 members in the club. And today we're the best club in the area. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. I just realized I'm on green. Wow. We're really having a good time here. We're having a good time here. Okay. So I'm going to, Dr. Aswarthy, I'm going to make you give yours, and then I'm going to go right through to complete my presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I too completely agree that leaders need to take risk, because I feel leader is a person who will set goals, and those goals should be out of reach. Of course, not out of sight, but out of reach, because when something is out of reach, you will definitely try to strive harder to achieve that. And when you do so, you will try to come out of your comfort zone. And it is always said that growth is when you step out of your comfort zone. So it is not only for the leader to grow, but of course, when team members, they take that risk, that challenge to reach to that goal, which is actually out of reach, definitely they are stepping out of their comfort zone, and they are, as the previous speaker, Nazim, he said that, of course, the reward is higher when you are stepping out of your comfort zone. So definitely risk is worth taking when you are a leader of your team. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, every response to my question leads to what is the Q in leadership? What is a Q in leadership? The responses gave the definition of the Q, and you didn't even realize that. The Q in leadership is very simple, and it is this. The Q in leadership is living outside the box and the fishbowl, setting yourself and the other person free to live above the norm. How is the Q formed? The creative leader receives a crossing bar, places it on the circle by making an opening for the person in the circle to come out. We all know how the letter Q is. We see it right there. That is free from the trap of mediocrity and fear. And the thing about it, this, too many leaders, small and great, who are not eagle visionaries, prefer to live by the code. If it's not broken, why fix it? They rather use a crossbar they receive to enlarge the circle, turn the circle into a box, and then turn it into a nonagon, then turn the nonagon into a star and stand amazed by saying, beauty in the eyes of the beholder. No, 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 no. You are still inside the box. The business, the employee, the service management, the directors, the team, everyone is still inside of the box, trapped. You have not come outside of the box, period. So I want to conclude in sharing a personal, I should say a personal thought for me. Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs, the owner of Apple, he wanted the manager of Pepsi. And for years, he kept beckoning him to come with me, come on my team, I need you, you have the skills, you have it. Never, he kept saying no. So Steve Jobs did something, took the Pepsi manager up to a high building, and they both overlooked the city. And while they were overlooking the city, Steve Jobs, with his hand folded, turned to the Pepsi manager and said, I see that you prefer and content to make sugar water. And that hit the Pepsi manager one time. He said, okay, I'm in. As a visionary, as a leader, as an eagle, the calculated risk. You see the potential in the person. You see the potential in your product, because you believe in yourself, the employees, and everyone. You're going to bring them all in. Bring them in. Create the queue in the leadership. Don't remain trapped. Don't remain there. You do not belong there at all. Come out of it and live your best creative life. Are you creating a queue in your leadership? Are you creating a queue in yourself? Back over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much, Francoise, for your very, very interactive speech. Within your speech, you gave an opportunity to all the participants to speak on leadership. And the most important is that the Q in leadership you defined. It was very inspiring. Thank you very much. Now 1 minute silence for the evaluation. Sandra, please change the background. Thank you very much, Sandra. The third speaker is Ashwini Arondkar. Ashwini is an elaborative speaker. She is going to speak from Dynamic Leadership Level 1, Project 3, Introduction to Vocal Variety and Body Language. She's going to draw a line between self-care and selfishness. She is passionate about sharing stories, leading the way to impress her audience. The title of the speech is Self-Care is Not Selfishness. And the speech evaluated is Sudarshan Seshadri. I invite Sudarshan, please read out the objective of the speech.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, I would like to introduce to you our speaker of the day, who in real life, in her day job, sells HR technology, and by the night, she is a humble, kind, caring individual with a penchant for arts. Today, she is going to attempt to speak from the dynamic leadership path, as we already know. It's a level 1, project 3 speech, focusing on the two most important non-verbal aspects of communication, vocal variety and body language. I, as an evaluator, will pay close attention to the usage of vocal variety and body language throughout her speech and give her a report eventually when I'm called upon. Thank you, and back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sudarshan, for the introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcoming Ashwini Arondkar.
It was December 2009. I was sitting beside my dad's bed, holding his hand, assuring him that he would be fine soon. We both looked into each other's eyes, and we could feel the despair as he knew that he was going to leave us soon. He suffered from stage 3 colon cancer. The entire life flashed in front of my eyes. I used to hug him when he returned from his work. Most of the time, I've spent being his princess. And today, even after getting transformed as a queen, I was a still small little baby for him. That day, in December 2009, my father took a promise from me and said, "My darling, you have spent the entire life with us taking care of our family. Now it's time to take care of your own family. Instead of being with us, you need to be with your husband. It's now time for you to be a proud parents. While I'm alive, I want to play with my grandchild." He knew that he had very little time left with him. He had also imagined that the grandchild has grown up and he's dropping him to the school. In December 2010, the entire world changed because from me, we became us. Because a small little bundle of joy had arrived in our life. I was so happy because my father could see his grandchild grow. Another reason I was happy because I was enjoying my motherhood at its best. However, within few months, my happiness was replaced with insecurity, with depression and guilt, shame, and conflict of heart and mind. I was unable to enjoy my motherhood. One day, while I was changing my son's diaper late night, my son was looking at me and he was smiling, playing with me. And I just started crying. I was thinking, "Ashwini, what has happened to you? Why are you in such a darkness?" That point in time, my father's word came for my rescue. He had told me just before he left us, he said, "My darling, take care of yourself. Loving yourself isn't a vanity. It's a necessity." That was a time I realized that I was not taking care of myself. And that's why my happiness was taken over by insecurity and depression. That was a point when I resolved on the floor that I'm going to take good care of myself. Next day, early morning, I was ready for a job, tied up my shoelace and handed over my 6 months baby to my husband. But I had an overwhelming feeling. And that feeling was of the mom guilt. Yes, the mom guilt. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, have you ever thought why every first-time woman or a mom is suffering from this? And the simple answer is the mom guilt. It is as ubiquitous as worry, and which is also with us. I am very well aware that when our kids, our small little babies have been part of our bodies for a longer part of time, we don't want to separate them. We don't want to hand it over to anyone within the family as well. That was a time when I stopped just for a moment before I went out for a jog. And I realized I can go back like this. I made up my mind. I headed towards National Park. As I jogged around, I was panting, I was sweating, my muscles were feeling tired. And within few minutes, what happened was absolutely magical. A beautiful sense of elation was wheeling inside me. And that sense made me to go for a jog the very next day and the very next day and the very next day. And that was the self-care which I was talking of, which gave a realization of positivity. We mothers often think about our family members. We plan for very next day effectively, but we always carry our baggages of worries. We don't know how to take care of ourselves. And that was a time journaling came to my rescue. This is something which I used to practice when I was a small kid. 5 minutes of journaling helped me to prioritize my thoughts. I was confused that I wasn't a loving mother. I could or could not give that good care to my little one. All this confusion came out of my body throughout the pen on the paper. After a while, when I finished writing, this practice increased for 20 minutes a day. And that practice have given me the feeling of lightedness in my mind. I was feeling joyful. And this is how I started my day every day. As you all see, these are all elementary techniques. It helped me to connect that 5-year-old curious soul within me, fearless, wanting to explore the world without any doubts, inhibitions, and that mom guilt. As I conclude, I urge you all to come out of that guilt. Self-care is not being selfish. It is a vital and necessary aspect of motherhood, because a mother is a one who is leading at your house on the forefront. It is a practice of putting on your own oxygen mask before you're helping others. It is not indulging about engaging in luxuries and being lazy. It's about taking care of your soul, body, and mind, because when you are doing self-care, you are giving the best versions to your family, to your kids, and to society. What do you think, Toastmaster today?
Thank you very much, Ashwini, for your sharing story. The title itself, a good message for us.
I think Brahm.
Yeah,
Azimuddin
sure.
is frozen.
Thank you.
Frozen, so yeah.
I'm the evaluator for Rozy Rana. And Azimuddin, are you there? No, he's having difficulty. I'll go ahead. So as the evaluator of Rozy, she's going to be speaking from a strategic relationships, level 2 for speech, understanding your
Yeah, I am
leadership
here.
style. let me just finish and then you can take over, Azimuddin. So she's going to be sharing some aspects of chosen leadership style or leadership styles in general, discuss style preferences when working with others, and how to adapt the chosen leadership style to a situation or styles, and so on. I'm glad that we are having so many leadership based speeches in Leadership Speak this week. Back to you, Mohammed.
Thank you very much. Our fourth speaker is Rozy Rana. She's going to speak from the strategic leadership level 2, project 1, understanding your leadership style. And she is already introduced by her evaluator, Braham Memo. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcoming Rozy Rana to deliver her speech, leading into the future.
The Pope opened the Leadership Summit with a prayer. Heavenly Father, malaria is being transmitted rapidly. Please help us find a solution. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, the leaders began their propositions. Allow me to elucidate by sharing what they say. Bill Gates stood up first. I will donate $18 billion of my personal funds and another $5 billion to help the third world countries. Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, was next. The government of Canada has agreed and committed to double the GST credit and offer free counseling to all Canadian citizens. President Museveni of Uganda went next. Dear friends, we cannot subsidize our employees or our staff or our population because the main thing is that the mosquito is our enemy. We must kill them all. Then came Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. He said, dear friends, in my country, we have the talent. So our snake charmers are now adjusting and re-engineering their flutes. They will be attracting the mosquitoes, hypnotizing and trapping them. And then Rishi Sunak, he was not too worried because with Brexit, the borders are closed, so the mosquitoes cannot enter. Finally, President Xi Jinping of China, we have a zero malaria policy. There's a lockdown until malaria is eradicated. Dear friends, isn't it astonishing the different leadership styles, how many there are? There are more leadership styles than there are burgers on a McDonald's menu. Philanthropic, democratic, socialist, innovative, affiliative, coaching, the list is endless. To give a bit about my own leadership style, here's the routine I observe. Every day, or every Tuesday, apology, from 9 to 12, I meet with my heads of departments. That is, heads of sales, the heads of finance, marketing, sustainability, and new products. Now, we meet over coffee because it is no secret that relationships blossom over coffee. I can see Sandra looking at me. Sandra, not those relationships. I'm talking about managerial relationships where we align our goals. Yes, there is no romance in our boardrooms. Have you observed an organization where when something goes wrong, sales blames accounts, accounts blames production, production looks for HR? Well, by having these meetings, what happens is we jointly discuss the problems and we're able to find solutions and not point fingers. Another thing blossoms over coffee, and that is creativity. Many new initiatives have come about from starting our barista training school to new initiatives and products such as syrups, creamers, 3-in-1s. Now, dear friends, you might be thinking, why am I going on about coffee? Well, we roast coffee, and the heavenly aroma of this coffee keeps us perky and alert and just brings out all the best in my teams. This style, I suppose, would be called democratic. Now, democratic might sound fashionable, but it has worked for me. We have managed to set goals and crush goals. But most importantly for me has been that joy and fulfillment of seeing my team members grow. But is there one leadership style that works in all situations? I'd like to say no. Imagine the general of an army trying to use democratic leadership style to motivate his employees to start their training at 3 in the morning instead of 4. I suspect he would be vetoed. So most importantly, which is that style which will serve us in the future? We've come from a time of uncertainty, profound disruption. And as we go into 2023, economists are predicting a recession. They're predicting that there will be inflation. Microsoft come together with, look at Microsoft, look at Google, look at Amazon. Together in January alone, they have announced layoffs of 40,000 employees. How are they predicting this uncertainty to result in such drastic decisions? So what is it? Now, Fortune magazine says leaders of the future must be equipped with 3 key skills to engineer and navigate the future. And what are these? The first is leveraging on technology. It is no secret that AI or artificial intelligence is taking over. Did you know there is such a thing as ChatGPT, which really is able to do essays today? Can you imagine? We will not be trying to work our speeches. ChatGPT will help us with our speeches. So leaders may not need to be experts, but they should leverage technology to get the best productivity and to optimize their results. Secondly, leaders should be coach-like, according to Fortune magazine. They need to motivate and inspire the workforce. And why is this? Because it is Gen Y and Gen Z will be the ones taking the bulk of the workforce. All those who were born after 1980. These people will not work as traditionalists. They want to be motivated and developed, not be treated as people just to produce results. And the third trend is sustainability. Within the UN framework, there are 17 sustainable goals, but the ultimate aim is for us to eliminate poverty, have gender equality, and climate change. What can we do as leaders in our own capacities? It could be as simple as eliminating waste. It could be just using a glass bottle instead of plastic. We in coffee are growing shade trees to protect the coffee against climate change. So dear friends, are you future ready? What skills do you need? Take stock and don't fret if we are not fully ready for the future, because as leaders, the important thing is we lead, we constantly learn, we constantly adapt, we take new skills and we lead again. So my dear friends, I invite you to keep leading, keep learning, keep adapting and leading again. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Rozy, for your enthusiastic speech that you gave us a way to move forward to future leadership. Thank you very much once again. 1 minute silence for the evaluation. Thank you, Sandra. And thank you all the speakers who spoke today and gave us wonderful ideas and educated us how to move into our future leadership, how to learn the leadership skills within this platform. Now I would like to ask Sandra to please report for all the speakers.
Here we go. This has been such fun. Don't turn down an opportunity to be timer. Okay, Aswathy, when you did your leadership speak, you were 20 minutes and 57 seconds. Dinesh, 7:44. Francoise, 24:55. I have a big apology. I gave her one of those conference curves. When you're in the middle of a conference giving your speech and something goes wrong, I was timing 5, 6, and 7 when it was really supposed to be 18, 20, and 22, but she recovered. I didn't even see the recovery, but great job, 24:55. Ashwini, 7:21, Rozy, 7. And that would be my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Now I would like to ask Zoom master.
That is the wrong poll. If you can relaunch the speaker poll, please.
On the best speaker. Zoom master, will you show the result as well? Thank you very much. Zoom master, you actually kept us remain connected throughout this meeting. So will we give some off timing or continue?
Continue or give 1 minute only. 1 minute is good.
Thank you.
We're running late.
Through the art of communication, a leader influences to inspire people to drive innovation, sustainability, and positive changes in the people. A leader speaks, we teach and learn the same art of effective communication for leaders in this club. This is our vision, the premier club for experienced Toastmasters to become better self-directed leaders. Evaluation is one of the most effective means of learning communication skills in Toastmasters Club. Evaluation is not the criticism. It is the means to know how well we have done and what could be done to improve in our future endeavors. The role of general evaluator is very crucial and is designed to make the learning purposeful and fulfilling. fun-filled. Today is Asif Singh. He played the role of speaking. In his career, such as auditor, social worker, his new areas of interest are executive coaching and master since last 6 years. And gentlemen, evaluator Muhammad Saeed.
Thank you, Toastmaster Azimuddin, Toastmaster of the day. So we begin our second session for the day today. And that's an evaluation. I mean, that's what we want in our Toastmasters, to get effective evaluations for the speech we are making. And so I would like to introduce my first evaluator for our first speaker, that was for the leadership speaker, Dr. Aswathy. Our first evaluator will be Hannah Smith. Now, Hannah, she started her Toastmasters journey in 2020, and when she joined Toastmasters, we were into the COVID era, and it's a Zoom meeting where we started, and she's made a lot of friends across the globe during this time. For her, communication is very essential or very important because she meets a lot of people across the globe, and that's what it requires for the leadership. Toastmaster Hannah, evaluation for Aswathy.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator. Am I audible? Because somehow I hear something missing or not. So am I audible?
You are audible.
Thank you very much. Good day, Mr. General Evaluator, Toastmaster, and Ashwathy. Wow, you opened your message with a bang to catch my attention, and you succeeded. With a clear and audible voice, you started with your very impactful and attention-grabbing presentation. Giving the example and comparison about your professor at varsity who could not connect with the students, and comparing the same scenario with the leadership in the real world is indeed recommendable. As you said, in leadership is a skill. Most of us are not born with it. We acquire it. You use the power of 3, or they call it the triad, when you continued with your ART, authenticity, when leaders need to be authentic, honest, trustworthy, and sincere, they want to have the respect of their followers. You are not afraid to admit that you need help. That is true leadership. Feel free to show your emotions. You are to connect, show sympathy, and say thank you, something which is definitely not very seldom heard today. Oh, I understand. Don't just listen. Hear what they say. And third, talk to inspire. That is the most important thing. You showed the courage to speak in front of 1,000 students and admitted that this experience made you stronger. Again, an example of leadership, not to be afraid to take up the challenge. Your graphics were recommendable. They were to the point and not at all cluttered. You excelled in connecting with the audience. Unfortunately, I could not see all of them because most of the videos were closed. A recommendation and a challenge I have is include a few more pauses to let the message have a better impact. Your vocal variety complemented your speech. and bringing home the message, leaders are effective communicators. Show a bit more of your body, that one can see your hand gestures, because sometimes they were gone and dim. You end it with a repetition of the triad A, R, T, to which all leaders should adhere. And you repeat, I repeat with the quote that you had, people will never forget how you make them feel. And that is also showing true leadership. Mr. General Evaluator.
That's truly noted. Very important. You have noted that, like, the screens. I'm going to speak more about the screen size. So somewhere I saw the photographs, took up the whole of the screen, and whereas your photograph just was going down, so that could not, there wasn't much of the proportion in the visual which was coming. So both coming together, that's the way you may want to find out for your screen. And very important, Hannah noted, is about the pauses. Yes, I mean, in a long speech, you require absolutely, like, some of the pauses required to digesting or getting or soak in the information. I mean, that's too much. But the pictures made a lot of connection with the headlines, whatever it was connecting to. So it was aligned. I mean, that's the beauty of your speech today. So wish you all the best. Now we move on to the next, because of the pause, because of our less time today we have. We move on to our next evaluator. Our next evaluator is Tony, and he is going to evaluate the speech of Dinesh Sharma. Now, Tony is the past district governor and a business consultant. So for him, obviously, the communication is very, very important in leadership as well. And he believes that effective communication must be supported by effective action. So let's see what Tony has in his evaluation for Dinesh. Over to you, Tony.
Okay. Thank you, General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guest, and Dinesh, especially you. Your topic was engaging humor. And I like to say that you engaged humor by engaging the audience in a relevant topic of your journey for leadership speak and what it means to you and what is the impact upon your future. And you did that in a number of very good ways. And I have maybe a couple small ideas to maybe tweak things. The way I liked it was you itemized the 3 stages of your speech. Hey, it's obviously structured. There's 3 stages. And you brought us through those stages with good transition. That's well done. The other thing too is you mentioned people's names, mine, Brahms, and many others, and at what roles we played in your engagement. So you obviously engaged us with that technique. And I also like the idea that this was a purposeful practice, being a practice speech for something you plan to do. So there's a vision within a vision. Your gestures were good. You elucidated every word. You moved at a pace that I could understand every word you said. Okay? A couple of ideas. I have to go quickly now. You talked about a selfie in Vancouver. Show us the selfie. Okay. You mentioned your wife. Tell us her name so that we feel there's another dimension to it. And that would be good things to do. So what I really, really liked was how you took this topic, made it relevant to us, discussed the impact upon your life as a person, because you're accomplished, and as a Toastmaster, and what the future is for you. And there is an immediate future. You're going to do this speech again as you continue to engage your future with us. Thank you, Dinesh. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Yeah, Tony, I'd like to add one thing to this whole speech which Dinesh has given, because he wants to present his journey of Toastmasters, his achievement. One small thing, Dinesh, is about the camera placement, where the camera goes, I believe, from down. I think that you are presenting it from the laptop, maybe. So the image is coming in from bottom up. So that's right now. It's a one of the. I mean, it's quite suitable. And if you move backwards, you move a little bit back right now. I mean, then that would be an ideal position for you to present. So that would be very important for us now when we are presenting in Zoom. I'm also learning. We are all learning. And let's grow together in leadership, and to make our communication more effective. It would be really important for us to be visually appealing as well. So that's a Zoom presence for us to take care of it. Thank you, Tony. Best of luck, Dinesh, for the leadership. Now, we move on to our next evaluator. And our next evaluator is Ray. Ray is going to evaluate Francoise. And Ray lives in Detroit and spends a lot of time on reading books and spending his time with family and listening to music. Well, and so where is Ray? I mean, Ray is not highlighted. Where is Ray? Ray? Oh, good, good. And let's have a highlight. Where is Francoise? Welcome, Ray. Yes, that's very important for Ray evaluation for Francoise.
Thank you very much, Mohad. First of all, can everybody hear me okay? Just a thumbs up will do.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good. Because you're on mute should be the word of the day at future Toastmasters meetings. All right, Francois, permit me to elucidate on your speech today. The title grabbed my attention, not just the previous one that you had posted earlier, but the new one that you surprised us with just before the meeting. The Q in leadership. It's not obvious where it is. I still haven't found it in the word, but it was still a grabbing title to grab our attention. Your slides were well constructed. The speech flowed well. Even with the hiccup in the timing, you still showed and demonstrated that you came with the speech. As speakers, sometimes we get upset when something doesn't flow right and we're surprised. You handled it beautifully to the point where we didn't notice it. You did. We didn't. And that is a big lesson, not just for yourself, but for all of us, is we have to overcome the challenge of being surprised and all of a sudden stopping our speech and stopping the flow. You just went on calmly. At least it appeared calmly. And inside your head, I'm sure you're just panicking to death. You encouraged the audience. You presented the information, and then you brought them aboard. You didn't just say, this is leadership, follow A, B, and C. No, you went beyond that. You invited the audience in. Let them share their information with you. Let them share their information with the audience. Get them involved. That is fantastic. Few things to put on a couple of slides, there was an extra P in leadership. So, it's just a minor thing, but it takes a while to kind of double check, make sure that the spelling is okay. And we heard a little bit from background noise. Get the tech host to help you prior to your speech to just mute others when you're doing your presentation. And you handled that very well. And I felt that this was a very well done speech, and some extra things to make this better. Have your slides ready. Make them hand them out. Make it available in the chat. Maybe we can follow along. And I love the message of challenging ourselves to aim for the best. Don't just think outside the box. Think about the nonagon box, the 9-sided box. That's a nice challenge to leave as a message, as well as really finding you toward the end to surprise us. Over to you, general evaluator.
Thank you, Ray, for the evaluation. I believe one thing would have helped Francoise would be that the slide for the queue, which had a lot of data on it, that would have been better explained with a visual, and that would immediately give clarity on what does the leadership queue means. So that slide came very late, and maybe that could have been brought in a bit earlier. So that would really help you out. The visuals were good, definitely. And yes, while you want to involve a lot of people, I believe that, in our timers, we could definitely keep the timing clock kind of a thing, so that people can visualize like whether they are the 10 minutes or 11 minutes or 14, rather than just we go at the end and say the green, yellow, red light. Or you could yourself also keep that kind of a timing for yourself. Yeah, so good, best wishes for your further endeavors. So now we move on to our next evaluator. Our next evaluator, let us bring in spotlight Toastmaster Sudarshan. Toastmaster Sudarshan is going to evaluate Toastmaster Ashwini. So let's spotlight Toastmaster Sudarshan. Sudarshan has an authority on money matters and product strategy. And having worked with the top 10 banks in the 5 different countries, he has become adept in working with multicultural work environment, and he has been a Toastmaster for 8 years. Now, what's important for him, and as a leader and effective communication, is that leader needs to get the work done. So is that effectively communicate to get the goal delivered? That's the most important part of leadership. Toastmaster Sudarshan, evaluation for Toastmaster Ashwini.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and of course, Toastmaster Ashwini. What a poignant speech delivered with utter simplicity, straight from the heart. It was almost like Ashwini chose to shoot an arrow and it went right through me. And that's the power of simplicity in a speech. A subject which is well known, something almost all of us accept is vital, but reiterated in our own inimitable fashion. And that's why the title in itself captured my attention. And the rest of the speech was, of course, a magnificent story of which every page had nuggets that we could all take. If I were to break the speech down to analyze its mechanics, let's look at what were some of the highlights of the speech. As I've been repeatedly saying, very, very simple speech, extremely well elucidated by Ashwini, by her choice of words. These words are accompanied by gestures which were relevant to the content being spoken of. And above all, the depiction of the entire story unfolding was done in first person, which enabled me to pay attention and be connected throughout the duration of her speech. I was with her in the hospital room. I was standing next to her when the diaper was being changed. And I was also next to her when she was running up the mountain at the national park. And that is what an evocative speaker typically can do to you. And that's exactly who Toastmaster Ashwini is. Her strengths lie in the fact that the speech was constructed out of words which are in everyday use. She did not go for bombast, and that enabled her to communicate and communicate well. a lesson that a lot of us speakers need to imbibe, because sometimes in order to appear erudite, we forget to elucidate what we are saying. And that is something that she avoided very well. If I were to look at specific recommendations that Toastmaster Ashwini can take on board and help her enhance her speech, first and foremost, the speech was a story, but the story needed to have segments. Like every other story, the story needed to have an opening, a body, a climax, and a resolution. This entire story moved in one single straight line. I would have loved to see specific intervals at which the story moved from the father to the child to herself and eventually to all of us. And that would have been a beautiful circle if she could have drawn. The next one was the speech called for a lot of vocal variety. What I did witness was a lot of body language and facial expressions and gestures, but the tone in itself was pretty monotone. And there were 2 or 3 characters. For example, when she was running up the mountain after a long hiatus, I would have loved to see her puffing a little. As I was going up the mountain, I realized I'm not in shape or some such thing. That would enable the audience to relate to that particular segment of the speech. The other thing is, the speech was very serious. A little more smiling, a little interspersion of humor here and there could have elevated the speech to the next level. All in all, a self-directed leader always knows that the most important asset that he or she possesses is himself or herself. And unless you care for that vital asset, all your other accolades pale in significance, because you are not there to be who you are. And that's a message that she conveyed. And to that, I say, here is to more self-caring leaders as they become more self-directed. Thank you, and back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Sudarshan. Our next evaluator, we want to bring on screen is Toastmaster Brahm, evaluating Toastmaster Rozy. Please spotlight Brahm.
They will find me, but I'll continue with my evaluation because we're running out of time. Thank you very much, Rozy, for your wonderful speech there. Now, let me tell you a little bit about your speech. If I can find my, there we go. So, content and delivery first, and then, I'll talk about the rest. So you began your speech with the Pope's prayer, finding a solution, then Bill Gates and the Canada, and all those political leaders and what they do. And then you said there's so many leadership styles, so you went into leadership styles, first bringing, of course, all the leaders that we know and listen to and hear about all the time in the news as it is. Then you went on to your own personal examples, and then in the boardroom and how you motivate and inspire your teams at your work as an MD. And you compared it to how a general in an army motivates their troops as compared to the democratic one. Your second point was about the 2023 inflation, recession, and the layoffs, and so on. Though I didn't quite get what that leadership style was. Maybe it was somewhere embedded in there, because you mentioned about the chat GPT and the content and the leaders of the future and how they need to engineer the future. So maybe it was all about future thinking, but what style that was, well, it doesn't have to be a style, perhaps. Maybe it was just totally risk-taking and doing everything. But I was looking for styles. Then you went on to, I loved it, number 3, those who were born after 1980. I think I was born just yesterday, because I like technology, I like to grow, and I like to be inspired, and I love all those things, as everyone knows here. But the 3 main things were to eliminate poverty, gender equality, and climate change, and that's where leadership really needs to grow and into the future. Your conclusion was amazing, in inviting people to be sort of adapting to what's really going on. I'm not there. Oh, there I am, and so on. And here's the thing, though. Now, my recommendations on the content is tie the closing to the opening, because the opening was all about political leaders and so on. So how does it tie in when you were inviting us to keep leading and keep adapting and futuring and our future selves, and how did it really relate to the opening would have been effective? Sometimes we try to sort of make attention grabbing remarks at the beginning, but then it fails to connect to the end. And so you can lose that. So sometimes you have to sort of get into understanding the attention grabbing remarks at the beginning and how it really ties in the conclusion and your speech as well. So you may have to look at that. On Zoom presence, your delivery, gestures, eye contact, lighting, perfect. Your microphone needs to have a look at today. Normally it's fine. Today it wasn't great. Your vocal variety, a little bit more enunciation and on words and more variety with pauses at the right places would have given you even more oomph in the speech. And so overall, love the content of your speech. I loved how you brought, futuring and what the future is unfolding, because this is what I'm all about, is the future and how can we contend with the future. Thank you so much for your speech today. I loved today's speech is all about leadership. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Brahm. And just one small thing, just one small recommendation, that pink nail polish was a bit distracting. So if it, gels with your attire, that would be really great. I mean, that would remove the distraction. So we are into Zoom presence, so that we want our communication to be, distraction free. So, well, let's have the timings from Sandra. Sandra, could you please provide the timings?
Thank you. Hannah, your evaluation was 3 minutes, 12 seconds. Tony, 2:46. Ray, 3:23. Sudarshan, 3:47. And Brahm, 3:27. That's my report.
Yeah. So while we are going to go for the next reporter, please, I would just like to be sure that who is going to run the evaluation poll. So please be ready with the poll as well. Or you could put down the, yes, thank you for bringing up the poll. Thank you. So now our next role player is going to present the report is the grammarian, Toastmaster Mary.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. So today, our word elucidate was actually used 3 times. The speeches were so so clear that we didn't need to elucidate more than once during our speeches, and we elucidated twice during our evaluations. Just some general comments on uses of language. Instead of saying read out, we can just say read. Help me in welcoming is just help me welcome. And absolutely most important, we could say the most important. Wonderful phrases used are 4 magic words. I particularly liked, ships are not meant to stay in safe harbor. They are meant to go out to the seas. You will never know your limits until you push against them. And particularly because it's morning for me, blossoms over coffee. So to Sudarshan, I'd like to say I loved your use of words in your speech, in your evaluation today. It's nice to hear more comprehensive words, I'm going to say, in the use of in the evaluation. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Well, thank you so much.
Mr. G, if I may, on the poll where it says Sandy Emden, that's actually Tony Brashard, because we had to replace Sandy at the last minute. She wasn't able to continue. So wherever it says Sandy Emden, it's Tony. So if you want to vote accordingly, thank you.
But I think the poll is still going on.
I'm okay.
Okay,
I'm okay.
Thank you, Tony. That's much for you.
I voted for someone else.
Okay, so great. So now, whenever times are short, and that's where we run on exceptions. What is exceptions means is quickly, most important things we communicate fast and as much as possible, which makes meaning. Well, today the meeting was all about, the theme was all about being an effective communicator to become an effective leader. I mean, that's both goes in hand in hand, because you need to communicate well so that you can lead and make yourself more clearer to your followers, so that they have clear idea what to do, what kind of actions to be taken. It would be really, a big issue when leaders are not understood. Well, today in our meeting, the most important that we had two long speeches that definitely took some of our more extra time. So we need to take care of it in the next, while making schedules so that we don't go overboard our time. Another important thing which I noted during the meeting before preparation and during the preparations is the introduction part. I mean, we are still struggling to get introductions. You see, we as speakers need to be really enthusiastic to pass on our introductions, because that lends us visibility. And I found that either our TMOD was struggling with the introductions, not getting introduction. I was literally not getting to the last moment. So I went around to get those introductions, So that's where we really need to improve, because, introductions means money. Please understand that, because that's your brand building, personal brand building. Well, and the second thing is all about connectivity. Yes. If you could put into the WhatsApp chat, what is the link, then people could follow the link. Many times I go through the Gmail and try to get the link for our leadership speak. So this is on exceptional basis. Now let me come back to the meeting. Yes, everything, meeting went on, started on time. Thanks to the Sergeant at Arms for drawing the attention of the meeting, and it went on time. Thank you, Mrinal, for that. Thank you, the timer, Sandra. Sandra, one small thing is that, when we wanted to know about the timings, it's like, where things could have been, rushed up more faster so that the timings become more clearer, I think that, the timings also could be given while the speaker is going to make the speech as well, because we might forget, when the speaker comes, how much time that speaker is going to take. In some other clubs, what we do is before the speaker comes, the timer also says, okay, this is 18 meetings. So minutes. So people have that focus. Yeah. So that's one thing which we can, think about it. And let me come back to our Toastmaster of the Day. Toastmaster of the Day, can we highlight him if it's possible? Toastmaster Azimuddin. Toastmasters is always a platform to experiment very quickly, to make all kind of mistakes wherever possible. We learn from it and we grow from it. That's the most simplest way to say about our Toastmaster. Efforts are always laudable. I mean, the kind of efforts which each of us Toastmasters take in becoming a leader in our leadership journey is always laudable. So congratulations, Toastmaster Azimuddin, in completing your today's role as Toastmaster of the Day. On exceptional basis, yes, issues were faced on the internet connectivity, where you were struggling to get into the meeting as well. Brahm took over the leadership. I mean, as a leader, he just jumped in and we went on moving and kept the meeting going ahead. So that's what good leadership is all about. Many places, some of the introductions were a bit short. So that's where you may want to improve. And today I maintained a theme of the Zoom presence and the clothing, those kind of things as well. So I was noting in particular for example, this blue or I know maybe it's a navy blue, not gelling with the light coffee color. I mean, you could take a white color shirt, that would really make it more impressive. I mean, that's what I need to say today. Back to our Toastmaster of the Day. Azimuddin, back to you. Well, Azimuddin need to be highlighted. Great. So Azimuddin's network is a bit low. If Brahm would like to step in, because we are running out of time.
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So you concluded your general evaluation. Thank you very much, Muhammad Asif, for your wonderful ideas and the general evaluation. You have covered almost all the areas. So today's theme of the day: leaders are effective communicators gives us message that any opportunity you find gravity. Speak. Speak to Brahm.
Azimuddin, are you there?
Yeah.
Just conclude the meeting, close the meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
You're breaking up there. That's the reason.
Yeah. Okay. Now you hear me clearly?
Yes. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
Looks like we're going to have technical difficulties.
Thank you very much, journal evaluation areas. You have covered a lot of areas where we have learned how to correct ourselves for our future endeavor. The theme of the day, leaders are effective communicators, highlight their conflicts and suggest some resolution of those conflicts. In this way, you can give this over to Brahm.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to thoroughly, this meeting is adjourned. Of course, you can stop the recording. Thank you very much. Zoom master, please stop the recording.